Captain Eleanor L. Martinez stood on the bridge of her cargo ship, the ironically named Lucky Mistake, and wondered how exactly she'd managed to get into this situation. The massive Valdrix warship, looming outside her viewport, probably wondered the same thing. "Your vessel has entered restricted space," the gravelly voice of the Valdrix commander thundered through her comms. "Prepare to be boarded and processed." Elle took another sip of her coffee and squinted at the hulking alien vessel. The Valdrix were notorious throughout the galaxy, 9-foot-tall predatory beings with retractable plasma claws and a tendency to eat first. Ask questions never. Their ship looked like someone had welded together a bunch of knives and painted them black. "Processed," Elle muttered. "That's a fancy way of saying eaten." Her ship's AI chirped helpfully, "Captain. My databases indicate the Valdrix have a 100% kill rate for unauthorized vessels in their space. Shall I begin playing your chosen death music?" "Not helping." Ship L rolled her eyes. "And I told you to stop offering that every time we're in danger. It's morbid. Previous experience suggests we are in danger approximately 87% of our operational time." Again, not helping, Elle straightened her worn cargo captain's jacket and checked her reflection in a nearby screen. If she was going to die, she'd at least look professional doing it. "Open a channel to the big scary ship, please." The moment the channel opened, Elle's legendary bad luck struck. She gestured dramatically with her coffee mug, ready to deliver a diplomatic speech, and promptly spilled the scalding liquid all over her console. The ship's artificial gravity chose that exact moment to hiccup, sending the coffee floating upward in glorious brown globules. Oh, for few, Elle's curse was cut short as the gravity returned, dumping the coffee directly onto her head. The Valdrix commander's hologram appeared just in time to witness this display of human dignity. All four of his eyes blinked in succession. Is this some kind of human combat ritual?" he rumbled uncertainly. Elle wiped coffee from her face with as much dignity as she could muster. "Nope, just Monday." The commander's mandibles twitched. "You face death with coffee." "Well, I haven't had my second cup yet, so technically I'm not facing anything." Elle wrung out her hair. "Look, big guy, I'm just a cargo hauler who took a wrong turn. My nav system glitched after that solar flare in Sector 7. How about we chalk this up to a funny misunderstanding and I'll be on my way?" The Valdrix commander leaned forward, filling the hologram with his armored bulk. "You dare to make light of this situation? Our species are natural enemies. We are apex predators, feared throughout the galaxy." Elle snorted. "Buddy, I had a cat back on Earth that looked scarier than you." Actually, she tilted her head, studying him. "You kind of remind me of him. Same grumpy expression, similar pointy bits." The commander's rage faltered slightly. "You compare me to an Earth predator?" "Oh yeah, totally. Tittles was his name. Used to sit just like that when he wanted treats. Elle mimed a sitting cat. All proud and fierce until you found his sweet spot. Then he'd just flop over and purr." "We do not." "Flop," the commander said, but Elle noticed he'd unconsciously shifted into a remarkably similar sitting position. What happened next would later be described in Valdrix history books as the incident. Elle's ship, living up to its name, suffered another gravity malfunction. She stumbled forward, somehow managing to reach through the hologram field and actually make physical contact with the commander during his ship's standard boarding procedure. Her hand landed right on his armored belly, and purely out of instinct developed from years of cat ownership, she gave it a scratch. The feared Valdrix commander, terror of 3 systems, immediately went rigid. Then, to everyone's shock, especially his crew's, he started making a sound remarkably similar to purring. 5 minutes later, Elle found herself in the Valdrix ship's command center, surrounded by thoroughly confused warrior aliens, demonstrating proper belly-rubbing technique to an enthusiastic audience. The commander, who'd introduced himself as Graxty the Bloodthirsty, was sprawled in his command chair, wearing an expression of blissful contentment. "And that's why you need to get the spot right behind the 3rd armor plate," Elle explained to the furiously note-taking Valdrix warriors. "Works every time." "This is clearly some form of advanced human warfare," one warrior whispered to another. "They have weaponized comfort. Graxty roused himself enough to mumble, "The human shall be appointed as our official." What was the term? Belly rub consultant, Elle supplied helpfully. Yes, that. Any objections will be met with immediate dismemberment. Elle looked around the room full of deadly alien warriors, each now eyeing her expectantly, and sighed. You know, when the recruitment officer said space would be full of surprises, this was not what I pictured. The ship's AI chimed in through her earpiece, "Captain, shall I update your resume to include diplomatic relations through strategic petting?" "Ship, I swear I'm going to donate you to a calculator recycling program." And that's how humanity's reputation for turning the galaxy's most dangerous predators into oversized house pets began. It wouldn't be the last time Elle's particular brand of disaster-prone diplomacy would save the day, but it was certainly the most memorable, especially since the Valdrix insisted on immortalizing it in a rather embarrassing series of commemorative plates. 3 weeks after the incident, Captain Martinez found herself staring at what might be her worst idea yet, and considering her track record, that was saying something. "Ship, explain to me again why I thought hosting an interspecies dinner party on a cargo vessel was a good plan." "According to your log entry, made at 0300 hours while consuming your 7th cup of coffee, you said, and I quote, if it worked on the Valdrix, it'll work on everyone. Food is the universal language of friendship. Also, I'm pretty sure I'm hallucinating from caffeine overdose." Elle surveyed her cargo bay, now transformed into a makeshift dining hall. Graxty had insisted on helping, which meant everything was decorated in what he called traditional Valdrix victory colors, mostly blacks and reds with the occasional skull motif. "At least the tablecloths hide the blast marks," Elle muttered, adjusting a centerpiece that appeared to be made from reclaimed weapon parts. "Who's on the guest list?" "Current attendees include the Valdrix delegation, 3 Xylaxian diplomatic corps members," and the ship's AI paused dramatically. "The Krigoth ambassador." Elle dropped the skull-shaped napkin holder she was holding. "The Krigoth? As in the warrior race that makes the Valdrix look like teddy bears? Those Krigoth?" "The same." Ambassador Zerg Cax the World Ender confirmed attendance. Their message included 7 different threats and a dietary restriction note. Elle pinched the bridge of her nose. Of course it did. What's the restriction? They demanded, under pain of eternal torment, that no food be served that would make them appear weak by enjoying it too much. "Well, that's just asking for trouble," Elle grinned. "Ship, pull up my grandmother's tiramisu recipe." Hours later, the cargo bay was filled with the most dangerous collection of beings ever gathered for a casual dinner. The Valdrix warriors were attempting to use forks with mixed success. The Xylaxians were nervously documenting everything in their standard diplomatic fashion, and the Krigoth delegation was doing their best to look menacing while secretly sniffing the air with interest. Ambassador Zerg Cax, a 12-foot-tall mountain of armor and aggression, glared at the table setting before him. "Human, explain why there are 3 forks. Is this some kind of weapons test?" "That's for the different courses," Elle explained, trying not to laugh at the sight of the fearsome warrior poking suspiciously at a salad fork. "Though I've got to admit, my gran could probably turn them into weapons if she needed to." "Your grandmother is a warrior," Zerg Cax perked up noticeably. "You should see her during holiday cooking. Makes your average battlefield look peaceful." The first courses went surprisingly well, aside from a minor incident where a Valdrix warrior got overexcited about the garlic bread and accidentally activated his plasma claws, cutting the table in half. Elle had prepared for such disasters by installing multiple replacement tables. She was starting to get the hang of this interspecies hospitality thing. Then came the kitchen disaster that would change galactic politics forever. Elle was preparing to serve the dessert when her ship's artificial gravity decided to malfunction again. She was starting to suspect it was doing this on purpose. The tiramisu, lovingly prepared according to her grandmother's recipe, went airborne and landed directly on Ambassador Zerg Cax's face. The room went deadly silent. The Xylaxians began recording their likely final moments. The Valdrix warriors readied their weapons, though Graxty looked more concerned about the waste of dessert than the impending violence. Ambassador Zerg Cax slowly wiped the tiramisu from his face with one massive claw. He stared at it. Then, to everyone's shock, he licked it. The fearsome warrior's 4 eyes widened. His secondary arms emerged from his armor as he scooped up more of the dessert. What is this substance? Tiramisu, El offered weakly. It's an earth dessert, my grandmother's recipe. Your grandmother, Zerg Cax announced in a booming voice, is clearly the greatest warrior chef in the galaxy. This tiramisu is a weapon of mass deliciousness. He turned to his stunned delegation. Forget the peace talks. We must secure the recipe rights immediately. Oh no, muttered El's ship AI. Captain, we may have inadvertently started a dessert-based arms race. The situation escalated quickly. The Krigoth demanded exclusive rights to the recipe. The Valdrix, not to be outdone, countered with an offer of their finest battle cruiser in exchange for regular tiramisu supplies. The Xylaxians were frantically calculating the political implications of weaponized Italian desserts. El watched the chaos unfold, wondering if this was how Earth's first galactic trade empire would begin, not with advanced technology or military might, but with her grandmother's baking. Ship, she whispered, remind me to call Gran and tell her she's technically now the most powerful being in 3-star systems. Already drafted the message, Captain. Though I took the liberty of editing out the part where you admitted to modifying her sacred recipe with space coffee. The evening reached its peak when Ambassador Zerg Cax, high on sugar and caffeine, challenged Grax T to a dance-off. The Valdrix commander accepted, but only after ensuring there would be more tiramisu served as dance fuel. As El watched a Krigoth war chief attempting to do the Macarena, while a Valdrix warrior DJ'd with modified plasma cannons, she couldn't help but smile. You know, ship, I think we might be onto something here. Indeed, Captain. Though I feel compelled to point out that we now have the 3 most dangerous species in the galaxy hopped up on sugar and coffee in our cargo bay. Details. Pass me that emergency tiramisu, would you? I think the Xylaxians are finally ready to let loose, and they'll need the energy. Just then, a new message flashed across her console. More ships were approaching. It seemed word had gotten out about the party, and now every species in the sector wanted in on the action. El looked at her dwindling dessert supplies, then at the growing list of RSVPs from various supposedly untamable warrior races. Ship, how fast can we replicate Gran's recipe in industrial quantities? Calculating. Though I suggest we focus first on reinforcing the dance floor. The Krigoth's interpretation of the electric slide is causing structural damage. El watched as Ambassador Zerg Cax attempted a spin move that sent him crashing into a stack of cargo containers. Good call. Also, let's make sure we've got the good coffee ready. Something tells me we're going to need it. The night was still young, and if there's one thing humans had perfected over the millennia, it was the art of turning awkward dinner parties into legendary events, even if it meant accidentally revolutionizing galactic diplomacy in the process. The party was in full swing when everything went sideways, which, in El's experience, was exactly when things usually went sideways. The Krigoth were on their 5th helping of tiramisu. The Valdrix had started a conga line, and even the Xylaxians had loosened up enough to attempt what they claimed was dancing but looked more like organized twitching. That's when the ship's AI cut the music. Captain, we have a situation. Multiple hostile vessels dropping out of hyperspace. Signs indicate space pirates. Of course, El sighed, because this party wasn't complicated enough already. The first blast rocked the ship just as Ambassador Zerg Cax was attempting to demonstrate what he called the dance of ultimate victory. The mighty warrior stumbled, face planting into a bowl of chocolate mousse. Intruders dare interrupt dessert time, the Krigoth ambassador roared, chocolate still dripping from his mandibles. This means war. El's tactical display lit up with incoming ships. She recognized the infamous Black Nebula pirates, known for targeting diplomatic gatherings for high-profile hostages. What they hadn't counted on was this particular gathering being absolutely hopped up on sugar and caffeine. Ship, status report. Pirates have locked on with boarding tubes. Estimate 2 minutes until breach. Also, we're out of espresso. Now that's a real crisis. Elle grabbed her coffee mug, her lucky one, with world's okayest captain written on it. Everyone, battle stations, or whatever's closest. The cargo bay erupted into organized chaos. The Valdrix warriors, already running on a sugar high, activated their plasma claws, though one accidentally sliced through the punch bowl, creating what Elle's ship AI dubbed the tactical fruit punch incident. Ambassador Zerg stood atop an overturned table, rallying his warriors. Brothers, these pirates think us weak, gathered here for mere festivities. Show them the fury of sugar-enhanced combat. The first pirates burst through the hull, expecting easy prey. What they got instead was a face full of weaponized tiramisu, launched with surprising accuracy by a Valdrix warrior who'd modified a serving tray into a makeshift catapult. Hey Grax, thee bellowed, dual-wielding serving forks like daggers. The humans have taught us well. Everything is a weapon if you believe hard enough. Elle had to admit, the sight of feared warriors from across the galaxy defending a dinner party with improvised kitchenware was something special. A Krigoth berserker charged past her, wielding a punch ladle like a war hammer. Nearby, a Valdrix scout had somehow fashioned a grappling hook from a string of party streamers and was using it to swing between cargo containers, dropping dinner rolls on pirates' heads. Ship. Give me options. Elle ducked under plasma fire, rolling behind an upturned table still covered in desserts. Analysis suggests pirates are unprepared for current level of chaos, also detecting high levels of confusion from their tactical systems. They appear unable to process why their targets are giggling while attacking. Elle grabbed a bottle of her special reserve hot sauce, the kind that came with a warning label and required a signed waiver. Time to show them why you don't mess with a cargo captain's dinner party. She sprinted across the battlefield, sliding under a pirate's legs while squirting hot sauce in their face. The pirate's scream hit a pitch previously unknown to any species present. Captain, her ship chimed in. The Xylaxian Diplomatic Corps is requesting permission to deploy their emergency protocols. Granted. Wait, what emergency protocols? The answer came in the form of 3 Xylaxian diplomats unleashing what they called their interpretive dance of combat, a surprisingly effective technique that combined bureaucratic hand gestures with devastating roundhouse kicks. In the center of the chaos, Ambassador Zerg had gone full berserker mode after a stray shot had destroyed the remaining tiramisu. He was now sitting on 3 pirates, force-feeding them salad while lecturing them about proper dinner party etiquette. You interrupt dessert, you get the vegetables, he roared, stuffing lettuce into a pirate's helmet. Grax fought his way to Elle's position, his plasma claws coated in what looked like a mixture of pirate armor and frosting. Human. They're targeting the kitchen. Oh hell no, Elle's eyes narrowed. She grabbed her ship's intercom. Everyone. Code Grandma. It was a maneuver they'd only practiced once, but every guest remembered it. The Krigoth formed a shield wall with serving trays, the Valdrix readied their infamous food fight formation, and the Xylaxians positioned themselves for maximum diplomatic outrage. Elle held up her grandmother's original recipe card like a battle standard. For the tiramisu.
For the tiramisu, the entire room roared back.
What followed would later be described in pirate legend as the caffeinated catastrophe. Elle led a charge that combined human ingenuity, alien warrior prowess, and liberal use of kitchen implements. A Valdrix honor guard dual-wielding rolling pins cleared a path. Krigoth heavy infantry advanced under cover of throne whores D-overs. The Xylaxians deployed their most devastating weapon, strongly worded formal complaints, delivered at high velocity. The pirates never stood a chance. Ship. Status, Elle called out as she surfed down a corridor on a serving tray, using a spatula to deflect laser fire. Pirates retreating on all fronts, Captain. Their command channel is quite colorful. Current phrases include what the hell is wrong with these people, and why are they laughing? The battle reached its climax when Elle made it to the kitchen. The pirate captain himself was there, reaching for her prized coffee maker. Step away from the coffee maker, Elle growled, raising her tactical spatula. That's a custom Earth model. It's got sentimental value. Surrender, the pirate captain laughed. You're armed with kitchen utensils. Yeah, Elle grinned. But I've got something you don't. What's that? Sugar-high allies with impulse control issues. On cue, the wall behind her exploded inward as Ambassador Zerg Cax burst through it, still covered in chocolate and roaring what sounded suspiciously like the lyrics to We Will Rock You. The pirate captain lasted approximately 3 seconds before being tackled by 500 pounds of caffeine-enhanced Krigoth warrior. His last conscious sight was a Valdrix warrior carefully rescuing the coffee maker while humming the Mission Impossible theme.
In the aftermath, Elle surveyed her cargo bay. It was a disaster zone of upturned tables, scattered silverware, and unconscious pirates wrapped in party streamers. But remarkably, the dessert table had been successfully defended.
Ambassador Zerg Cax approached, attempting to look dignified despite being covered in various food items. Human Captain, your combat strategies are unusual, but effective. The Krigoth Empire would be honored to learn more of these dinner party defense techniques. Grax the nodded in agreement, unsuccessfully trying to deactivate a fork that had somehow fused to his plasma claw. The Valdrix Confederation concurs, though perhaps with less sugar next time. Are you kidding? Elle grinned, pulling her grandmother's slightly singed recipe card from her pocket. This is just the beginning. Wait until I teach you all about holiday office parties. The ship's AI chimed in, Captain, the pirate fleet is in full retreat. Also, we're receiving requests from 17 different diplomatic missions asking about our next dinner party. Apparently, word has spread about our unique approach to interspecies relations. Elle looked around at her bizarre gathering of sugar crash warriors, nodded once, and made a decision. Ship, send out invites. But this time, double the dessert budget. And maybe install some better gravity stabilizers. And reinforced dance floors. News of the great dinner party battle spread through the galaxy faster than a Krigoth warrior chasing tiramisu. Security footage of feared warriors defending desserts with their lives went viral on the galactic net, earning the hashtag #HumansWillFriendAnything. 6 months later, Elle stood in the grand opening of Casa de Martinez, where every species is family, the first human-alien fusion restaurant in the galaxy. The location? Her old cargo bay, now permanently converted into the most unusual dining establishment in known space. Your grandmother's arrival is confirmed for next week, Captain, her ship's AI announced. She's bringing her secret recipe book and, quote, needs to have words with whoever modified her tiramisu with space coffee. Elle winced. Maybe we should warn the Krigoth ambassador to lay low for a few days. Too late. He's already organized a welcome parade. The restaurant was packed. At one table, a group of Valdrix warriors were teaching young Zalaxian diplomats the proper technique for synchronized coffee drinking. Nearby, a Krigoth battlemaster was carefully arranging flowers in a centerpiece, insisting it was tactical decoration.
Ambassador Zerg Cax, now the self-proclaimed chief dessert security officer, stood guard by the kitchen doors. He wore a custom-made chef's hat over his battle armor and had somehow bedazzled his war claws.
No entering without proper sugar clearance, he bellowed at a startled delivery drone. Grax D, who'd traded his command of the Valdrix fleet for a position as head waiter, glided past with impressive grace. Ambassador, we talked about this. Indoor voice when not actively repelling borders. But the tiramisu must be protected. Elle couldn't help but smile. The feared Krigoth ambassador now had a reputation for singing Earth pop songs during prep time. The Valdrix had developed a surprising talent for napkin origami. Even the Zalaxians had started a weekly poetry slam night, though they insisted on calling it verbal combat practice. A news crew from the Galactic Broadcasting Network was setting up in the corner. Their reporter, clearly nervous, approached Elle. Captain Martinez, how did you know this would work? Turning the galaxy's most dangerous species into restaurant regulars. Elle sipped her coffee thoughtfully. Ever noticed how every human culture has some version of comfort food? Some dish that makes everything better? Turns out, that's pretty universal. Even scary aliens with plasma claws want a place where everybody knows their name. But they're predatory species. Yeah, and my aunt's cat was a predator too. Didn't stop her from dressing it in little sweaters and feeding it tuna tartare. Elle shrugged. Sometimes the scariest looking creatures just want a good meal and a comfy chair. The restaurant had become more than just a dining establishment. It was an unofficial neutral ground where species that had been at war for generations could share a table and argue about whether chocolate cake was superior to lemon meringue pie. Shipel called out, "How's our waiting list looking?" Current wait time is 3 galactic standard weeks. The Arctuvian horde has requested a table for their emperor's birthday. They offered tribute in the form of rare spices and a small moon. Tell them we don't take bribes, but if they want to join the loyalty program. A commotion at the entrance caught her attention. A new species, the notoriously reclusive shadow stalkers of the void, had arrived. They stood in their traditional intimidation formation, darkness swirling around them. Before anyone could panic, Graxd smoothly approached them. "Welcome to Casa de Martinez. Would you prefer a booth or a shadow-friendly corner table? Today's special is Earth-style mac and cheese with optional void peppers." The shadow stalkers, feared for their ability to devour light itself, shuffled awkwardly. Their leader spoke in a voice that usually heralded doom. "We heard you have something called chocolate lava cake." "Excellent choice," Zerg Cax boomed from his post. "The lava is metaphorical, but the deliciousness is tactical." El watched as the feared shadow beings were led to their table, already perking up at the smell of fresh bread. Another successful integration. "You know, Ship," she mused, "maybe this was humanity's destiny all along. Not to conquer the stars, but to give them a comfortable place to hang out." "Indeed, Captain. Though I feel compelled to note that your grandmother's imminent arrival might disrupt our current peace." "True. Better warn everyone to hide the coffee stash." Elle straightened her custom apron, which read, "Will feed any species in 15 different languages." After all, some forces even the galaxy's deadliest warriors aren't ready to face. Outside, a line of various alien species stretched around the block. Some were former enemies, now united in their quest for the perfect cup of coffee. Others were first-timers, drawn by rumors of a place where even the most fearsome creatures could find a home-cooked meal and a friendly word. Above the entrance, a sign flickered in multiple languages: Casa de Martinez, where the food is hot, the coffee is strong, and everyone's family, even if they have plasma claws. It wasn't the future anyone had expected when humans first reached the stars. But as Elle watched a Valdrix warrior carefully explain the concept of dunking cookies in milk to an entrance group of shadow stalkers, she knew it was exactly the future they needed. After all, it's hard to maintain an intimidating warrior facade when you're wearing a "I survived the Martinez family recipe" bib and asking for seconds.